blue.
Larger community.
The president's very strong words on guns and kids, plus the latest on the investigation. In depth tonight, the family. Should parents be responsible when kids kill? Another war zone. Thousands of American reservists getting the call to Kosovo. And who's really disabled? If you wear glasses or have high blood pressure, does that count? Questions before the U.S. Supreme Court.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. That shooting massacre in Littleton, Colorado has touched off an emotional debate on gun control at the highest levels, 1 week to the day after 15 people died by gunfire at Columbine High. It began with President Clinton presenting his omnibus crime package, which includes banning juvenile possession of assault weapons and limiting handgun purchases to one a month. Then, the president spoke to the larger issue of violence and its effect on society.
This is about our community. This is about our responsibility to our children. This is about protecting our children and the vulnerable children themselves from people who are about to go over the line here. And this is crazy that we're living in a society that takes no reasonable steps to protect the larger community. So it's not just the culture of violence that has to change. It's the culture of hunting and sport shooting that has to stop financing efforts to frighten their members who are good, God-fearing, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens out there. And I want to make a plea to everybody who is waiting for the next deer season in my home state to think about this in terms of what our reasonable obligations to the larger community of America are.
The president's proposed new gun laws, which also include raising the legal age for handguns to 21, brought an immediate response from the Senate's Republican leader, Trent Lott of Mississippi.
To do the typical knee-jerk reaction, oh goodness, we've had crime, and therefore what we need is gun control. That's what you get in Washington. But that alone is not the answer.
All of these issues were in play today in the continuing investigation of the massacre at Columbine High. Where did those guns come from? Who bought them? NBC Jim Abela is covering that part of the story for us again tonight from Littleton. Jim?
Tom, intent, the key word tonight. Investigators tell NBC News 2 of the weapons that were used in the shooting went from Dylan Klebold's girlfriend, her possession, to his. Now the follow-up question. Did she know why he wanted them? NBC News has learned that under questioning from police, 18-year-old Robin Anderson, girlfriend of Dylan Klebold, confirms she bought at least 2 of the guns used in the Columbine High School massacre. She is still a witness, but today, for the first time, police publicly identified her as what they now call a, quote, possible suspect.
As far as I know, she's still cooperative. Obviously, someone who may be possibly in the future linked as a suspect, it would be very smart of them to seek legal advice.
Law enforcement sources say the 2 guns Anderson purchased are the 9mm carbine rifle and the rapid-fire Tech-9 handgun. The ATF has traced the purchases to gun shows held at the Denver Merchandise Mart 3 times a year. But investigators believe there may have been other shopping trips. This gun shop owner in Colorado Springs, 70 miles south of Columbine High, remembers Eric Harris coming to his store last month with 4 friends. One of them, he says, was a blonde woman. He refused to sell to the teens, saying they were too young.
They wanted this one here they were asking about, and they were asking about the M60 machine gun.
The store owner turned over surveillance camera tape to ATF agents, but no one on the tape looks like the suspects. But sheriff's investigators still believe his story, despite the lack of taped evidence.
They were not able to recognize any of our suspects on that tape. That does not mean they may not have been in the store at another time.
So there is some credibility, possibly, to the gun shop owner's story.
Oh, absolutely.
Police are also investigating another tip from a hardware store employee near the high school who says he saw Harris, Klebold, and friends buy large amounts of nails, screws, wires, and many, many propane tanks.
I asked them what they were going to do with those tanks. And at that time, the one kid replied, it's for school.
The store employee says he thought they meant school project. police now say they have 377 good leads and are actively checking out 260 of them. And they still believe the two gunmen needed and received help in a conspiracy to destroy their school. Tom?
Thanks very much. Jim Obala tonight in Littleton, Colorado. In his remarks today, the president also zeroed in on one of the largest loopholes in the gun control laws, gun shows. They're organized like flea markets, private citizens selling to private citizens. The president said it's time for more rules, including background checks for gun show buyers. Tonight, NBC's Roger O'Neill takes you into the very large business of gun shows.
It's the legal way to buy a gun with no questions asked. The giant loophole in federal gun control laws. No background checks, no waiting periods, no records. And every weekend in dozens of American cities, the sale is made at a gun show. 4,000 gun shows every year attended by millions of people with thousands of weapons sold. Last June, this man, who does not want his name used, says he bought a Chinese-made semi-automatic assault rifle at a Denver gun show. No questions asked, not even his name.
The seller of the gun did not make any inquiries of me as to who I was, did not make any attempt to run me through a background check. He accepted $450 cash from me, and I walked out of the gun show with the gun.
The sale is controversial, but it is legal because the gun is semi-automatic and the transaction is considered a private sale between a seller and a buyer. But if someone wanted to buy the same weapon from a licensed dealer or at a gun store, there would have been a background check and a waiting period. The man who bought that assault rifle just happens to work for Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette, who before the killings at Columbine High proposed changing the law.
It's a loophole big enough to drive a Mack truck through.
Gun enthusiasts oppose any more restrictions.
This tragedy would not have been prevented by a new gun law.
I'm against it. It's an intrusion in my rights.
The gun lobby argues if private sales at gun shows are regulated, what's next? Government regulators in private homes conducting background checks, or a ban of all gun sales? But from the White House today, the view, people in Littleton and across the country want change. In fact, they're demanding it to make it harder for guns to get into the wrong hands. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Littleton.
Now to the killing fields of Europe, the Balkans, and the latest tonight from Kosovo. It is beginning to stretch the resources of the American military, so now 33,000 reservists are being called to active duty. For that story and other developments today, NBC's Jim Miklaszewski once again at the Pentagon. Jim?
Tom, as the air war enters its 6th week, there's still no sign the Serbs are backing down. So President Clinton's calling in the reserves. Reserve troops at March Air Force Base, Riverside, California, preparing to ship out for duty over Kosovo. Mostly air refueling crews, 2,100 reserves will be called in the first wave. But as many as 33,000 reserves and National Guard could be activated if the war drags on much longer. And it could. After 4,400 bombing runs, the Serb army remains firmly dug into Kosovo. So NATO's sending reinforcements. As many as 10 more American B-52s head for Kosovo this week. Within days, NATO hopes to put up what amounts to a naval blockade around Montenegro's seaports to choke off critical fuel supplies to Milosevic's army.
If he can't refine anymore, he's not going to be able to get any more fuel by ship.
And those Apache attack helicopters could be ordered into combat as early as next week, even though one crashed and burned during a training mission in Albania yesterday.
The effect of this is nil. We'll drive on undeterred.
At the same time, several hundred Marines are headed for Albania this week to provide security at the refugee camps. Military officials are worried that after weeks in the overcrowded camps, the refugees themselves could rise up in revolt. And tonight, NATO officials report at least one more bombing mishap over Serbia. They say at least one errant NATO bomb landed in a residential area in southeast Serbia. Now, the Serbs claim 20 civilians were killed. NATO says tonight it cannot confirm that number. Tom?
Thanks very much, Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon tonight. And still ahead tonight, a provocative question at the U.S. Supreme Court today. Should the law protecting disabled Americans include people who wear glasses or who have high blood pressure?
I need some medication and sometimes a few days a month to get it regulated. Is that asking too much?
Just who really is legally disabled? And Lifeline tonight, the latest information on how you can take the agony out of allergies. But first, 1 week after the tragedy in Littleton, that community holds 3 more funerals and a moment of silence to remember those who died.
Does your older dog seem confused? Doesn't recognize you? Or turns away when you pet him? It could be due to a medical condition called cognitive dysfunction. So if your older dog loses interest in your family and no longer acts like he used to, ask your veterinarian if Anapro can help. Side effects may include vomiting, diarrhea, or behavior changes. Consult your veterinarian before using with other medications or tick collars.
With locations in over 1,800 cities and towns, there's always a Days Inn hotel nearby. Wherever you're going, wherever you're from. Days Inn. There you go.
How do you get healthy hair like this? Hair with this sheen and body, this texture, glow. Feed your dog pedigree with Champion Skin and Coat System in every can and bag. This multi-nutrient formula works from the inside to help make your dog's skin and coat the healthiest it can be.
Pedigree with Champion Skin and Coat System. Developed with the vets at the Waltham Center. Recommended by top breeders.
Bonnie Plant Farm grows over 100 million plants. Every time we water, we feed these plants with Miracle-Gro. Look at the roots on this rascal. It wraps all the way around the plant. The quality, the vitality, the character of the plant is much better with Miracle-Gro.
Feeling down? Overwhelmed? Now, to help you lift your spirits and look on the bright side naturally, there's Quanterra Emotional Balance. I used to think all St. John's words were alike, but they're not. The extract in Quanterra was clinically proven effective by doctors, and research suggests it regulates neurotransmitters affecting emotional wellness. New Quanterra Emotional Balance. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If it's not clinically proven, it's not Quanterra.
You know there's nothing that I'd rather do than to be with you, talking with the stars. It's the way you make me smile and tell me who you are. Yeah, it's sweetest and happy.
Weekdays at 9 on News Channel 8.
NBC News in depth tonight, the family, children in trouble with the law. Just how much legal responsibility should be placed on their parents. The shootings at Columbine High have put that question front and center in the national dialogue, and the new crime bill proposed today by President Clinton would make parents criminally liable if they recklessly let a child have access to a weapon, and that weapon is later used in a crime. Should parents pay the price for a child's actions? Here's NBC's Ann Thompson in depth.
In Littleton, the memorial to the victims continues to grow, along with the debate over whether to hold parents accountable for such tragedies.
Parents are losing control of their kids, and I think that there should be responsibility put on parents.
Sentiments that echo across the country, part of a growing effort to make parents legally responsible when their children break the law.
A lot of parents have become afraid of their children.
North Carolina Judge Marsha Morey, one of the forces behind new laws bringing parents into the juvenile justice system with their kids. Starting July, parents will be subpoenaed to appear in court when their children are accused of crimes, pay court fees and fines, and undergo counseling when children are convicted.
A lot of parents, it will never touch them, but some parents are not doing what they need to do.
At least 41 states have some kind of laws on the books holding parents responsible for their children's actions, but only 13 hold parents criminally responsible, including Colorado. Here it is illegal for a parent to allow a child under Harris responsible in some way. Detectives have questioned the gunman's parents as witnesses, but say they are not the targets of the investigation. University of Colorado law professor Mimi Wesson says any case against parents is difficult to win because parents must be aware of the danger.
It's not just they should have known, it's that they actually thought about this risk but decided to do nothing to avert it.
Even if prosecutors don't bring charges, victims' families can take them to civil court. The parents of the two shooters in Jonesboro and the shooter in Paducah are all being sued by the families of the victims.
I mean, civil liability is based upon a responsibility to bear the damages that are caused by people within your control.
Here in Littleton, at least one family is already considering legal action, consulting a high-profile lawyer, while the country looks for ways to make this tragedy the last. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Littleton.
And still ahead tonight, Lifeline, if you're one of the millions who suffer from allergies, new help is on the way.
But I wasn't gone long.
Your husband was right here?
I went to check the ticket.
Bingo.
What?
Have you checked the Chili Dog Express?
Oh, no. Hot dogs give Jack indigestion and heartburn.
Not this time.
What is it?
Looks like the remains of the minty fresh Pepsid AC chewable.
Chewable?
Now the first chewable that stops heartburn before it starts. Great tasting Pepsid AC chewables.
Jack?
Start living heartburn free with new Pepsid AC chewables.
The answer lies out there, Watson.
On the moors, Holmes?
In front of the Holmes, Watson.
Holmes?
That's right, Watson. Nobody in the world sells more real estate than Remax.
Remax, the real estate leaders.
What happens when vitamins and herbs get old? They get stale and lose potency. All GNC products are freshness dated, so you always get the potency you expect. GNC. Come in. Live well. Does your multivitamin know you're a man? Mega Men from GNC is made especially for men with ingredients like saw palmetto and ginseng that other brands don't have. It's your body. Take what belongs to you. GNC. Come in. Live well.
With the blades setting early, those first ice boats had a lot of speed, but not a whole lot of control. Oh, geez. Learn the hard way. Wider is better.
With its speed-sensitive steering technology, the White Track Grand Prix gives you precise cornering and control.
Better, better.
Wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac. Now you can lease the Grand Prix GT sedan for just $269 a month. See your Pontiac dealer today.
At LensCrafters, great-looking prescription sunglasses don't have to cost a fortune. LensCrafters can make hundreds of the latest styles with your prescription for only $99, and we'll have them ready in about an hour. Prescription sunglasses, only $99. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Papa John's is only 14 years old.
But we've already been ranked higher in customer satisfaction than our 3 largest competitors.
3 years in a row.
Help us celebrate our big win.
Our success and our anniversary.
Get 2 large pizzas with 2 toppings for just $12. 2 large, 2 toppings, just $12.
Taste our pride.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
And our most important ingredient, better people.
You got that right.
This week, exploring the roots of the Today Show family tree. From Romania to the Caribbean, Japan to the Deep South. From a past where our ancestors may also be yours.
At the U.S. Supreme Court tonight, there are passionate arguments over this question. How do you define disabled? No one would argue that, say, a person in a wheelchair deserves legal protection from discrimination at work, but what about someone who simply wears glasses or who has high blood pressure? More on this story tonight from NBC's Pete Williams.
When Vaughn Murphy was fired from his job as a mechanic for UPS in Kansas, the company said his blood pressure was too high for him to safely road test the trucks he worked on. So Murphy sued, making an unusual claim. He argued that his high blood pressure was actually a disability and that he deserved protection under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
I have a handicap that my blood pressure's off. I need some medication and sometimes a few days a month to get it regulated. Is that asking too much?
The judge thought it was, throwing his case out and ruling that because Murphy could control his blood pressure with medication, he was not disabled and not entitled to legal protection. UPS agrees that the law does not cover him.
It protects people who are truly disabled. It does not seek to advantage people who are impaired but not disabled.
In a similar case now before the court, United Airlines refused to hire 2 pilots because their uncorrected vision didn't meet company standards. So they sued, claiming they're disabled because they have to wear glasses. But today, the Supreme Court seemed to think the law does not cover people with easily treatable problems like high blood pressure. Justice Scalia said he can't see much of anything without his glasses, but said the disability law wasn't meant to cover him. And Justice Breyer asked, what about people who need false teeth? Where do you draw the line on who's disabled? Business groups say a loose definition would cover too many people.
The more people that are included, the less money there is, the less resources to accommodate those with true disabilities.
So who's really disabled? Judging by their comments today, the justices seem unlikely to broaden the definition to include people with medical conditions that can easily be corrected. Pete Williams, NBC News, at the Supreme Court.
Lifeline tonight, we have some good news for people who suffer from allergies. If you're among the millions having a particularly bad time of it this year, new help is on the horizon. More now from NBC's Chief Science Correspondent Robert Bazell.
For Mark Sturtevant and all the 26 million Americans with hay fever, it's a rough spring, one of the worst on record.
This year has been bad.
Medications keep his sneezing, runny nose, and shortness of breath at bay, but he wishes they were much better.
I would like to take the magic pill that will take care of all my symptoms at one time.
Amazingly, top doctors like Stephen McGady think that goal is close at hand.
I'd like to see people essentially not know they have hay fever.
And do you think that could happen?
In my professional lifetime, I think that's going to happen, and that's not a long time either.
Why the optimism? Scientists now know an enormous amount about the allergic reaction, a complex series of events that erupt in the body when pollen or other irritants enter the nose.
One class of drugs, antihistamines, block one key part of the allergic reaction. Another class, steroid nasal sprays, suppress the entire response. Alone or in combination, these drugs eliminate many people's symptoms, but not everyone's.
Not all people improve to the degree they would like.
That's why some doctors are adding a third class of drugs called anti-leukotrienes. They are approved to treat asthma, and early tests show they also work well for hay fever. And another approach, the most promising of all, monthly shots that shut down the master switch for all allergic responses, a protein called IgE. If these experimental shots work, people will need no pills. Test results come out next month.
This is going to be a major advance if they truly are as effective as we suspect they will be.
The shots won't come in time for this record hay fever season, but sufferers like Mark Sturtevant can look forward to the day when they may not have to worry about hay fever at all. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
It was a mixed day on Wall Street today. The Dow was up more than 113 points to a record close, but it was profit-taking in the technology sector, and that sent the NASDAQ down almost 50 points today. Up next, a popular British television anchor gunned down in front of her home in Great Britain, and a nation wondering why tonight.
Nature made me a person of many parts. Nature made me determined to make all of them last. And thankfully, to help, there are premium quality nature-made vitamins and herbs, like vitamin E, which research shows can help keep my heart healthy. There's no stopping me, because nature made me.
From a small clog to a major problem. Next time, call a trained roto-rooter plumber to fix it.
You know, sometimes we take our trees for granted, but they need food just like any other plant, especially younger trees during their formative years. That's why the folks at Miracle Grow developed new Miracle Grow tree spikes. Just one application right now gives your trees the essential nutrients they need to grow strong and beautiful, to branch out with full, lush foliage. Try new Miracle Grow tree spikes. It's Miracle Grow results for your trees.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, finding a place to stay doesn't take a federal investigation. Days Inn, there you go.
When dentures dream, they see the perfect denture cleanser. One with the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and the freshening power of Listerine. Well, little friend, dream no more. It's really here. It's called Efferdent Plus, and it's the only denture cleanser that could make your dream come true. Efferdent Clean and Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
I became interested in working in the brokerage industry when I was very young. I went to Harvard. I majored in economics. We had a last trade at 59 and 7/16. That was down 4 and 3/16 on the day. Throughout my life, I've had to work hard and had to focus to get where I am, and I'm going to bring that ethic to my job here at Schwab. Charles Schwab, Adam, 122998. Anytime you have a company that's been as successful as Schwab. Obviously, the employees are driving that, and I hope that I benefit Schwab in their growth and in their success, and I will.
A community comes together in grief. Can a nation come together to stop the violence? Tom Brokaw hosts a live town meeting, Lessons of Littleton, tomorrow on MSNBC.
When there's something like the shooting in Littleton, Colorado, foreigners rightly wonder about America and guns and death. The British have always been proud of their relatively low incidence of violent death by gunshot. But tonight, they're trying to deal with a shocking murder. A very popular television anchor woman shot to death on her front steps. Here's NBC's Keith Miller.
Now on, you can join us on the first...
Jill Dando was the British TV personality almost everybody loved to watch. Best known as the star of a program that is the British version of America's Most Wanted. And that's why almost everybody is in shock. Jill Dando was shot point blank in the head yesterday on the front steps of her London home in broad daylight.
I heard the scream.
Scotland Yard is still investigating a possible link between the murder and a TV show Dando co-hosted, Crime Watch. The program helped put a lot of criminals behind bars, people who could hold a grudge. Crime Watch has been on the air for 14 years, and 1 in every 3 programs ended in an arrest.
The circumstances make it look like it's a professional hit.
Some witnesses say a stranger, a well-dressed man, was lingering near Dando's house an hour before the shooting, and 6 other witnesses report seeing a man with the same description walk calmly away from the scene. An expert on armed attacks called it a contract killing.
I would very much doubt that it was the first time he'd carried out this type of shooting.
But police say they don't rule out a stalker or revenge killing. They searched the sewers and the treetops looking for physical clues. They questioned Dando's fiancée and her ex-boyfriend. Dando once expressed fear for her safety. She was scared, she said, because, as she put it, there are a lot of sick people out there. Still, a shooting in Britain is rare. Last year, just 133 people were killed by firearms. And so the British are now asking the question so many people in America are asking. How can this happen here? Keith Miller, NBC News, London.
That's nightly news for this Tuesday night. Don't forget Dateline tonight at 10, 9 Central. I'm Tom Brokaw, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
What she heard on our show helped her lose 110 pounds next Oprah.
It's time you got connected. KGW.com. Watch news.